Alright, what up, everybody? Time for the third installment or fourth video, whatever the fuck it is. Okay, so I left off last time. I just robbed a store. I had to move in with my dad. Now, there was a lot of shit that I missed out on, little defining things that I didn't remember till after I started talking about all this shit. Well, we'll start way back. First things first, I had some shit happen to me from a babysitter that I'm not going to get into too much fucking detail about. That was kind of messed up when I was like 5 years old. Back then it was considered a game, quote unquote, obviously. But I had done it, played the same quote unquote game with other kids until I was about 9 and discovered it was bad. So that kind of was a guilt thing resting on my conscience, which falls back into the hurt people things, and my severe hatred for child abuse and shit like that in general. Now, never had a talk with anybody other than a guy, a father of one of the girls that the stuff, whatever, had happened with. And he actually sat me down when I was about 10 and explained to me what everything was, because my dad didn't do it. And that was about the time where I realized the shit that I had done and the shit that was done to me was fucked up. So, around that same time period when I was 8, 9 years old, 8, 9, 10, before I robbed the store, before all that shit happened, my dad obviously had people living with us, like he always had, which was nothing new. This guy specifically would keep porno magazines in the bathroom underneath the bathroom sink. From what I understand, I really didn't search the bathroom a whole lot because we didn't have a whole lot of shit to search for, so I never looked in there. To this day, at that time and frame, I had no idea what jerking off or anything of that shit was because nobody had ever explained it to me until, obviously, my friend's dad had explained it to me. Now, instead of my dad growing a pair of nuts and telling the guy to get him out of the bathroom, he didn't want me to find him. He decided to tell him that he caught me jerking off in the bathroom to these magazines, which was wrong. That never fucking happened. But, while my dad's roommate was over at a neighbor's house, so the kids were over there, I'd walked in and they all turned into a bunch of ball busters, assuming I knew what was going on. They said, "So your dad caught you masturbating, huh? Playing with yourself to the dirty magazine," just saying shit like that, teasing me. Adults do it, whatever. But I had no idea what any of this shit meant. I just knew when the word masturbate came up, I giggled, the other kids giggled, and the adults giggled. Funny fucking word. So I had this little thing that popped into my head that said masturbation is the key. And to me, it was the word to make people laugh. That's what I meant by it. And I'd say that, and people would laugh. I'm 9, 10 years old. So, around that same time period, when I'd come from my mom's during the week, go to my dad's house on the weekends, they had this little church thing that they do. And it was just like a basketball thing or whatever. I'm not saying what it was called. I remember what it's called, but I'm not blowing anybody's spot up. Because this was kind of traumatic for me. This is what kind of turned me off to religion in general. So, I'm a kid, and I'm sitting up on the bleachers. And I don't know why it came out of my mouth. I was just wanted to make people laugh, be a clown. But I said the masturbation is a key thing. And one of the guys I was watching turned his head, looked at me, and said, "What'd you say?" And expecting an adult to laugh, I said it again. I was very wrong. This man grabbed me, dragged me off the fucking bleachers, shoved me through the first set of double doors, shoved me again through the second set of double doors, and shoved me a third time, so I bounced off the stone driveway. Screaming at me the whole time about what I said and how I said was wrong and everything else. It wasn't until I stood up and another person had come out and told him what he did was wrong. He got physically removed from a fucking building at 10 years old for a word I didn't understand by a man that was supposed to be holy and whatnot. And I'm in the parking lot, I'm crying. I'm obviously a little kid. I'm 9, 10 years old. He went back in. I turned around, went to leave. Somebody came out and said, no, you can come back, you can come back. When I got older, I realized I just didn't want to get fucking sued for this man pummeling the shit out of a fucking kid over a word. And that was my introduction to other people treating other adults you're supposed to trust, treating me like that. And instead of being like, hey, don't say that, he felt the fucking need to put hands on me, drag me off a set of bleachers, throw me through a set of double doors. I stumbled. He grabs my shirt again. I spin. He shoves me through another set of double doors. I stumble again. He walks up, grabs me from the patio, and throws me into the fucking driveway. That was my introduction to the church. So, people wonder why I don't trust those people. That's why. Let alone all the other crap that happened with other kids and shit like that. That's where I stand on religion for that reason. Instead of educating a kid about something, you just jump to the first fucking conclusion and treat them like a rag doll. And then come out and try to apologize and say we didn't mean it because you were worried about getting your ass nailed to a wall. No pun intended. So that was another interesting thing. I never said nothing to nobody about that except for a couple of people when I got older. Because I got a real angst for people like that now. Like, I don't like them. I can't deal with that shit. Now, fast forward through a whole lot of ass beatings. I already explained fighting and blah, blah, blah. And robbery and stealing and all that other shit. Drugs and shit. Now I'm 13. Me and Dad are living up on North Street in Morrisville because I just gotten kicked out of my mom's house for burglary. 4 counts. Pending charges, got to go to court and all that other shit. So, now I'm living with my dad during the week, going to my mom's on the weekends, where I can be monitored. Dad didn't really work, and Mom worked. On the weekends, she could pay attention to me, but during the week, it wasn't as easy. And like I said, I already felt invisible anyways. So, 13 years old. We're living in this tiny apartment above somebody else. This was, I'm pretty sure, just before school let out. Yeah, because snow was already gone and shit. And everything seemed to be all right. Everything was fine. Other than the fact that I immediately got a bunch of I had all this responsibility now. And it wasn't my dad that had the responsibility, it was me. Because, like, at 13 years old, that's where I learned how to roll cigarettes with a machine because my dad didn't want to do it. How to cook, how to clean, how to do laundry. Now, what I mean by do laundry is like we didn't have a fucking washer and dryer. We had a big satin bag, a silk bag, satin bag, big motherfucking bag. Like, even as an adult, that bag was like this big. That we filled up in a military duffel bag and laundry soap and shit. And I'd take that and I'd carry it from North Street all the way down to the laundromat, which is where the Chinese place is now in Morrisville. That was my chore. Grocery shopping, that was my chore. I'd take my bike down to the grocery store with a list, grab the shit we were having for dinner, and bring it back. Now, thinking about that, even as young as 6 years old, 7 years old, that was my job. We had the food stamp card, or food stamps at that time. Living on Campus Hill, I still did that because it clicked in my head that I remember busting my first jar, or I busted a jar of mayonnaise in the parking lots of the gas station on the way back to the house and got my fucking ass reamed out for it because it was supposed to go for dinner. But I was just a little kid. Now I was 13 years old. I'm doing all the laundry for the house, rolling the dad's cigarettes, cooking. He cooked a lot, but I learned how to cook. I did the dishes. You know, basic what an adult would do living by themselves type shit. But I was doing it for my dad and for me. So this went on for a while. And the first time actually smoking pot, because my dad used to hang out with these two people. I don't want to call them, we'll call them like the Woods brothers. They were burnouts, kind of just drifters. They kind of did what they wanted to do, whatever they could do to make money. And we had they used to hang out at the house. Dad used to think it was funny for me to arm wrestle them. They were like in their 20s when I was in my early teens. So we'd have arm wrestling matches and shit like that. All the shit that fucking college students and shit would do. So got pretty close to them. When, like, stealing Christmas trees together for Christmas, and fucking we'd ride out to the mall with a friend of theirs. And like the first time I smoked pot, it wasn't even pot, it was resin. And these guys did whatever they could, so who the fuck knew it was in the resin? But we smoked resin from Morrisville all the way to Syracuse. And I got so fucking high that I threw up all over the place, both sides of the car. Had freaked out inside Walmart. Like, went to my first head shop. And that was a fucking new experience, because I'd never been in there before. You're not even supposed to be in there unless you're 18. But I was with them, so I looked old enough. I already had facial hair and shit. And Dad didn't even know that I'd gotten fucking stoned when I got home. That was the crazy part. He just let me run off with these fucking guys. Knowing the shit they did, because they were the ones that brought the beer half the time. They'd show up with beer. He'd be able to get drunk for free because there's someone to hang out with. But they were like brothers to me. Never really did a whole lot of bad shit with them. But like, a whole lot of fucking deals got made hanging out with them, learning how to make moves, selling shit and getting shit and stuff like that. That was my life for whatever. For a while, Dad had picked up a job at a nursing home that lasted a whole total of a couple of months, and it fucking fell on its face. And yeah, just went back to living off fucking food stamps and whatever money we could get, whatever he got, however he paid the rent. I don't fucking know. A lot of even screaming matches, just getting screamed at for stupid shit. My dad was like very aesthetics. Like, shit had to look right. Shit had to look good. Shit had to look right. And if anything was fucked up, regardless of how good it worked, I'd get my ass cussed out for it. Or fucking... And it wasn't like the normal, what are you doing? Why are you doing this shit? It was... a whole lot of calling you fucking stupid and shit like that or whatever. Like, I remember fixing speakers in our living room one time by replacing them with other ones, and I got my fucking ass reamed the fuck out for just touching them, for just making them sound right, because my dad didn't listen to music. He just wanted the speakers there because they looked nice next to the fucking entertainment center. I loved music, so therefore I wanted speakers that fucking worked. Anyways, met a few people, figured out that Morrisville was nothing like Canastota. In Canastota, I'm not talking shit to anybody from Morrisville area. In Canastota, when people threw the fuck down, when shit was going to happen, it happened. There was fights all the time. I was constantly getting my ass kicked. Constantly getting in fucking fights. And sometimes winning, sometimes losing, depending upon what the fuck was happening. People were different. When you went to Morrisville, there was a whole lot of shit talking. And nobody really ever did anything. It was just a yelling match and it was over with. A few people threw down, but it was nothing like Canastota. So I was out of my element. When somebody said they were going to fight me or they're going to kick my ass, I would immediately drop my fucking coat, my backpack. I'm ready to fight. And when nothing would happen, I'd shove somebody and it'd be all over with. It's like, what the fuck? And apparently, that's just how shit went here. So that had my brain a little fucked up because all I've ever known was violence. And it was like, Canastota, somebody pulled a fucking knife out, or, you know, these 5 people jumped this dude, and like shit just like that happened all the fucking time. And it's a small town, but it's violent. And to this fucking day, if you don't come from money and you're overweight or you look funny, you're a fucking target. You're going to get your ass kicked because that's just the way the fuck it is. It's the way it's always been. Long before me, it was like that. So, Morrisville is nothing like that. So I developed a reputation in Morrisville. Nobody wanted to fuck with me because I was one of the real ones. One of the ones that wasn't afraid to fight. I'd completely given up on giving a shit what people think. Started fucking up in school big time. Didn't care. I was more worried about making friends than doing the shit I needed to fucking do. Because that was the only way I had to get by. My friends were my life. And like, some of the people that I grew up with, even when we were younger, like living at the brick building, friends of ours that lived there, we'd go to like these big concerts at like 10 years old, and we'd just get dropped off at these fucking concerts with whatever money we had in our pocket to buy tickets from scalpers to go in. Like, we were treated like fucking adults at a very young age. Smoking pot, fucking doing nitrous, like, well, they smoked pot. I didn't smoke pot. I did nitrous, though. At fucking 10, 11 years old. So, we lived in that building for a little while up on North Street. Moved in with friends of ours. Started kind of fucking feeling around. Now, see, I had this car that my brother had given me that he wanted me to work on. It was a Trans Am. I forget what year it was. But the motor was set up or some shit was wrong with it or whatever. And it moved from the brick building because that's where we had it. And I did the interior and it, put it all back together. And this was the car that I was going to learn how to rebuild and shit like that. Well, one thing that you'll notice when I start talking about my father is everything always happened on the weekends when I wasn't there. Everything always happened when I wasn't there. Well, this car was my safe space. This car, when I say safe space, it was the one place I could go and sit in it and be alone and listen to music. I wired up my own little stereo in here. The radio didn't work, had no battery, but I had I had a radio with 2 speakers that I put in the back window, and I just sit in that as a kid and listen to fucking music and just kind of daydream. Well, Dad needed money. Car needed to go. Fucked up part was, dude came and picked up the car. Well, here's what he tells me. Picked up the car, signed the title, the guy never paid him. Never came back to pay him. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if my dad just didn't want me to have any of the money or he felt that was his money or whatever. But that kind of pissed my brother off because my brother was the one that had given me that car at that age. So that would have been like my first vehicle. So that got taken away. The people that we were living with at the time, I had already started making friends and shit like that. Like, their bikes got stolen. Like, random time. My buddy Joey's bike got stolen right off the front porch by one of the guys that lived there so we could go to Utica and get crack. I was like, what the fuck, man? I had to wind up giving Joey my bike because I didn't want him to get in trouble for getting his bike stolen. And nobody seen a problem with it. Like, they got a little mad, but it was like, oh, I can't believe the dude would do that. Like, well, he fucking did, man. So it was a whole lot of fucking just trying to keep my head low and stay to myself. My friends were what I had. Family wasn't shit. I mean, family was, but it wasn't like... My friends were more important to me because I felt they had me more than my family did. So it was all in for my boys. It was 100% of the time, everything. Didn't care. I remember so much little bullshit that I just fed into that whole scenario. Like, well, long story short, in that place, we didn't wind up staying there for very long. And we moved from there to, I want to say, Campus Hill. Back to Campus Hill again. We're staying in apartment 15. I'm 14 now. We have some shit in there. And my dad decides that he's going to do maintenance and security for our apartment. Now, 13, 14 years old. Living on campus housing once again. Because now it's full-blown campus housing. There ain't other families up there, nothing. It's full-blown off-campus housing for college students. So we're working maintenance and security. And then they give us an actual apartment that could be permanent. They move us to apartment 23. It's a center tier, all the way to the right, all the way at the top. Top right corner of the center tier. So you can see everybody coming in on and off the hill. Now, I spent a lot of time living there. I moved that whole apartment by myself on a skateboard to the second tier. Now, obviously, I've already explained, I'm still doing all the fucking shit that adults should do. Cooking, grocery shopping, laundry. Like all the shit that most parents do to take care of their kids, I'm doing to help take care of my dad. So now comes the point where I start learning things like how to redo screens, how to redo windows, how to sheetrock, how to fucking patch holes in the wall, how to shampoo carpets. Because what wasn't explained was it wasn't my dad just doing maintenance and security. It was us doing maintenance and security. So now I'm 14 years old. And after school, I'm working full-time up here. I'm moving furniture, refrigerators, patching holes in walls, shoveling sidewalks. And sometimes we didn't walk in the house till fucking 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I'm up at 6:30 in the morning to go to school. So, needless to say, there wasn't a whole lot of schoolwork getting done. Because when I had free time, when I had time to hang out with my friends, I was gone. Like, I was doing whatever the fuck I could just to not be there. Now, this is where the messed up shit used to happen. we had a talk that I needed to start earning a little bit of money. I wanted to start earning money. So, like, I had little hustles that went here. Like, I'd find the potheads, and they'd give me money to go get them their snacks so they didn't have to leave the hill. I got in good with one of the workers down at the gas station, and back time they had BOGO cigarettes, buy one, get one. And they take all the get ones out, put the buy ones on the thing, and they'd sell me the get ones for like half the price. So for like $1.50, $2, I get a pack of cigarettes. So like, and I remember when my dad caught me smoking, he'd take my cigarettes, or he wouldn't let me smoke in the house. He'd give me a smoke, but I had to smoke it outside. Like, that was how that dynamic worked. Or he'd have me go get him his cigarettes. Now, the problem came in when I was starting to make my own little bit of money. He started taking my money. Like, I didn't get to go school shopping with my dad. And with my mom, we didn't have a ton of money. So, like, while all these kids are going to the mall and shit, I got, like, Ames clothes. So, every semester when the students would leave, the ones that weren't coming back, if they left shit behind, I got first dibs to go through their shit. Now, I get fucking nice clothes, Timberland boots, Nautica coats, fucking Pele clothes, all the shit that you see me wearing now, like name brand shit, but it was all somebody else's shit. So I might get a size 54 pant and have to fold it twice to put a belt on. But I love baggy clothes anyway, so it wasn't a big deal. Like, that's how I got my school clothes for years. Always had nice, fresh-ass clothes, but I picked them bitches out of a garbage can. Like, my first pair of Timberlands I picked out of a garbage can on a corner, and it took me like 2 days to clean them up. So I had name brand clothes, but they weren't, it wasn't like new shit. It was somebody else's clothes that somebody had fucked up or shit in or something and puked on or fucking something like that I had to clean up. And like, being that young, working campus housing, when they have big parties like that, it was my job to clean up after the party. So like, I remember pulling shovelfuls of vomit out of the basement apartment area. Like, shovelfuls. Like, we'd taken boxes of fucking baby powder and use it like Speedy Dry and shovel it in the garbage cans. And this was just for our apartment. I didn't make extra money off this shit. And when I did make money, my dad took it. So, like, all the little side hustles and shit that I had, I'd make a little bit of money, but usually what it turned out to be was he'd take the cash, I'd get the food stamp card, go get a fucking soda. Like, that's what I busted my ass for. So this threw a real judgment off in my head about what stuff was valued at, what stuff was worth, how much my labor is worth and shit like that. So I would be like, yeah, sure, I'll fucking shovel all these walks for $15. Why not? It's only going to take me half the day. Like, that's the mentality I had. And there was a few incidences with my dad. Like, most of the time, it was verbal. There was a whole lot of verbal abuse and mindfuckery. And what I mean by mindfuckery, I already told you I lived second tier, which there's 3 tiers of apartments. There's 3 levels. There's a basement level, which is the dirt's about up to your stomach. There's the quote-unquote ground level, which you'd have to walk up 1 flight of stairs, and there's an apartment on either side. And there's the top level, which is up like 2 flights of stairs. Now, we lived all the way up at the top on the right. And I'd be outside. And the way these apartments are set up is it's the living room and kitchen are one big room. You got a bedroom on the right, bedroom on the left. Right behind the bedroom on the right, there's a bathroom. Or right behind the bedroom on the left, there's a bathroom, depending on which side of the hallway you are on. Ours was right behind my room. We had the couch right in the middle of the floor. My dad would sit on the couch and literally watch the preview channel all day because it was always something different on TV. I don't know. But I'd be all the way outside playing. He'd be sitting on the couch, and he would get up from the couch to go to the window to call me to come upstairs. So I'd come upstairs. Because you didn't tell my dad what. You didn't go, what? What do you need? You just showed up. because if you didn't, you were catching a bunch of shit, a heap of shit. He'd call me up there just to go get him a beer out of the fridge. Even though it was just as far of a walk to the refrigerator as it was to that window, he would still call me to get up and do it, and to take his empty to the sink. That was the bullshit games we played, or he played with us. Now, there was a handful of incidents that happened between my dad where shit actually got physical. One incident, as an adult, I justify it, but back then it was just him being a dick. And that was, we were at a place called Fun Haven. My girl at the time, my wife now, at the time had gone into seizures because of the strobe lights. We wound up having to go to the hospital. So I was late getting home. I tried calling him and telling him. He still insisted he wanted me there. There was no way I could get there. I was at the hospital. I didn't drive. I was 14 or 15 years old. I didn't drive. So what the fuck you want me? He didn't drive either. What the fuck you want me to do? And I walked in with my buddy Nate, and I started getting punched in the fucking back of the head for how long I took. So Nate's watching me get the shit kicked out of me. I walked into my room. I didn't throw a punch back. I slammed my door. He come in screaming. I had grabbed my bass guitar. I sat on my bed, started playing my bass guitar. He come in fucking screaming, "You want to fucking slam shit?" And fucking shoved me backwards onto my bed, drew his fucking fist back, and I cocked my fist back. And I'm like, if we do this, we're doing this. Like, we're going to fight. And he kind of went out and sat on the couch because he remembered all the shit that he'd done to my sister, my brother, fucking everybody at once. That's the only thing I can justify. Or the only thing I can think of happened. Well, either way, that was an open door because stuff had gotten physical already. Now, he used to send me on little ventures to go around town to collect bottles and cans so he could get him some cigarettes. I had to knock on people's doors and ask them for their bottles and cans in town. Like, I'd go to people's houses that he knew to ask them for their nickels for him to get cigarettes or beer, whatever he wanted. And I remember one time it was a Friday, and I just went to like 4 or 5 people's houses. It took a minute. It took about an hour walking around. Finally, gotten enough to get him his fucking cigarette money. He told me how much he needed. I walked up. My brother had met me in the driveway to pick me up to take me to my mom's house. So I walked up the stairs, said, I got to grab my bag real quick. And he walked just to the foot of the stairs of the hallway. And my dad was at the fucking screen door screaming at me about how long it took me to do that. How long it took me to collect bottles and cans so he could get cigarettes. And then proceeded to slap the ever-living shit out of me because I took too long. So, my brother, with all his built-up aggression, decided to go up the stairs, grab my dad by his fucking shirt, and slam him into a wall. Felt good that my brother stuck up for me. At the same time, shit like that fucks you up as a kid. That was a very interesting, few interesting altercations like that. And that became a common thing. He used the last of his Zippo fluid. There was a fucking screaming match. He tried to belittle you and make you feel that he tried to push himself out to the point where you didn't care about him. He was the victim in all this shit. But anything sketchy, he had no problem with throwing me into. Go break this party up. Go break that party up. Those dudes that were shooting BB guns, go fucking or at us, or they go deal with them. So in a sense, my dad made a man out of me. That's the only way I can put it. Is like, I remember sitting down having a talk with him, and we got talking about fighting. He goes, it wasn't fighting's bad or you shouldn't have to do that. The bigger man walks away type shit that I was hearing from my mom. And he looks at me and goes, there's rules of engagement when you're in a fight. Because if you're outnumbered and you're getting your ass kicked, you reb one. And for every punch you catch in the back of the head from one of his buddies, you give the one in front of you too. Didn't care how fucked up I got. He just told me that somebody else is going to the hospital with you. That's the way you fight. And he was tough as shit. I watched my dad break his ribs multiple times by slipping, being drunk. He fell off a fucking cliff once. I watched him shoot a nail from a nail gun through his hand. Ask me for the hammer. At 6 years old, asked me for the hammer so he could pull the fucking nail out of his hand, wrapped his hand in a diaper, and kept framing a fucking room. Same day, he had a stroke. And I remember laying with him on the floor of the fucking house that we were working on till people showed up. He said he was fine, got in the car. I'm sitting on a 30-pack in between his legs in the back seat, handing them out beers while we're going down the fucking road. This was my childhood. Stuff that my mom didn't know about because, once again, you don't tell mom what happens at dad's house and you don't tell dad what happens at mom's house because it creates a fucking problem. Because last time he did, there was a big fight. So there was a whole lot of not knowing at dad's house. Not knowing if dinner was going to be cooked. My hatred for boiled chicken still stands for this day. Because my dad used to boil chicken before he fucking went to cook dinner, like if he was deep frying it. And he almost never made it to the deep frying part. I ate so much goddamn boiled chicken growing up, it'd make you sick. Lived in houses with them that like had one cold water that worked. Two of them. Two if you count the toilet. And it was in the bathroom sink. Basement flooded, no fucking heat, no fucking power. Pretty much like we were squatters in some of these places with my dad. Now, mom kind of caught wind of shit, and she insisted on me coming back to live with her. I refused because I was learning shit with dad. I was becoming an independent person, 14, 15, 16 years old. I'm learning how to do shit on my own, like stuff that adults now have problems dealing with. I had to deal with at that age. Like budgeting fucking money and fucking shit like that. I had to deal with all that shit. Because if I didn't get good at budgeting it, hiding it, and making sure nobody knew about it, it was gone. Dad would take it. He was drinking. Now, this went on for a while. I had a girlfriend. I'm already mentally fucked up. I got a fear of people leaving me. Like, I got some serious fucking attachment issues. Like, I don't want people to go. Kevin left me. All these people fucking leave. They're like, leave, don't care, don't pay attention. And when you start to have people like you, you don't want them to go because they make you feel good. But also with that came a lot of fucking, I watched a lot of arguing, a lot of fighting. So it's like, me and the girlfriend were always in fights over stupid ass shit. And it was mostly for her well-being. Like, she had asthma and I didn't want her smoking, so I'd fucking throw a temper tantrum and punch a fucking tree and shit like that. Like, stupid shit. Because that's the type of shit that I fucking seen. I thought that's just how you acted. Now, it's not how you act. I learned that. As I got older, I learned that. After breaking every mirror off my vehicle, punching my fucking rearview mirror out, shattering my windshield, like, I slowly learned how to control my fucking aggression and my anger and channel it to what was really pissing me off. So, this was a lot of the same growing up with my father. Living in those apartments. We lived in another place called Car Wash. Got in another fight with him over his fucking Zippo. Left for a couple of fucking days and wound up coming back. Moved back to Campus Hill again in apartment 13. I sat back and counted how many times I moved with my dad, and it was something like 26 times between the ages of 5 and 17. Like, we moved all the fucking time. And a majority of that, 4 years of that, was on Campus Hill. Like, a good 3-4 years was in the brick building. So there was just numerous places in between, staying with people, fucking nothing stable. There was nothing stable. That's where I get my thing. Everything has a monetary value, and I really don't care about a whole lot of stuff. Possession is just whatever. I have small things that I keep close to me because I know they will never leave, and if they do leave, I'll fucking panic. But as for like big shit, I don't care because I've had to walk away from so much of it. It don't matter. So now we're 17 years old. I'm 17 years old. My mom had moved to Georgia, so I'm not going to my mom's on the weekends anymore. She moved to Georgia when I was 16 years old with a man she just met and married. Well, she didn't just meet him. They were together for a little bit, but got married, moved back to Georgia because that's where he was from. October 15th, when I was 17 years old, I got off the bus, walked into the apartment, me, my girlfriend, my friend Ducky, and my dad's laying dead on the floor in the bathroom. I looked at them, said, my dad's dead, I gotta make phone calls. They panic, they think I'm joking, they go check, fucks them up too. Make the call to my sister, make the call to my brother, I called 911. I said I need an ambulance or a coroner or something because my dad's dead in the bathroom. And that was pretty much the extent of that conversation. Filed a police report. And at that very point in my life, that's when everything started to fucking change again. So, about 40 minutes into it, I'm sure I remember other shit about this time segment that I'm leaving out. My probationary shit, how that all worked and everything else. But 17 years old, dad dies October 15th. And mom's in Georgia. And I don't know what I'm going to do at this point. That's where my head's at. Now, luckily, the one cool thing my dad did is you're never prepared for a family member to die. But this was a conversation we had on a regular basis. My dad had went out and got new furniture and shit, all this other crap, like a month before he died. And it wasn't even delivered yet. That was the fucked up part about it. It's like he knew when he was going to go, it was just going to be done. So he kind of did set me up in a way, but there was no money. We had food stamps that built up. And yeah, that's it. I think I'll pick this up on the next video before shit gets too... I can only do about 40 minutes of this, and then I start to fucking slip a little bit. So, I think we're going to call this one good. There goes it, Avish. Either way, peace. Hope you enjoy this episode. I might do another one throughout the week just to pick up there because it doesn't just end there. That's stuff doesn't turn peaches and cream at that, because now there's a lot more fucked up shit that happened, even pertaining to that caused a lot of problems in my head as well. So, peace. Have a good night.